Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. I'm Maria Camila Marenco, an Associate Director of Business Analytics at Takeda. My session today is called Climbing the AI Ladder, and I'll be sharing two use cases that I believe are great examples of how we're approaching automation one step at a time at Takeda. I'll walk you through these use cases, some of the challenges we faced, including selecting the right AI tools, overcoming change management hurdles, and scaling automation with trying to balance innovation and compliance. My goal here is to share practical insights on what's worked, what hasn't, how we're thinking about the future of automation, and that's it. So let's go ahead and get started. Before we dive into these use cases, I'd like to briefly introduce myself and share a bit about my background and current role. I hold a master's degree in business analytics from MIT, where I also had the opportunity to conduct research on applying AI in healthcare. Prior to that, I worked at BCG as a management consultant, supporting clients across a range of industries and functions. Throughout my career, I've been passionate about the intersection of business analytics and healthcare, and about using data science and the right AI to drive meaningful, positive impact in people's lives. Today, in my current role, I serve as Associate Director of Business Analytics at Takeda with a focus on clinical trials. My role is centered around leveraging clinical trial data to develop analytic solutions that help accelerate drug delivery to patients while maintaining the balance between cost, speed, and quality. We normally refer to as this triangle with speed, quality, and cost on the three edges, and analytics driving impact on the center. From a technology standpoint, our team works across the full stack, including Redshift, Dataiku for transformation, automation, and Tableau for visualization and insight delivery. Now that you have a sense of my background and focus at Takeda, let's dive right into the different use cases that I have for today. So I'll be walking you through two examples where we've applied AI and automation to solve some challenges in our clinical development space. The first one is centered around regulatory compliance, specifically how we turn towards automation to support adherence to China's PIPL law, or China's Personal Information Protection Law, and the new changes that came with it. The second is centered on a study design and how we're using Gen AI-powered automation, protocol intelligence to support and streamline our design and study planning. These two projects are quite different in scope and technical approach, but together they show how we are advancing AI step by step, always grounded in business needs and value. And with that, let's start with the first one around China's PIPL compliance automation. This first use case is all about regulatory compliance. So what was the challenge here? We were supporting adherence to China's Personal Information and Protection Law. And when the law was introduced, it brought a new stricter requirements for how we manage personal data from both patients and investigators in our trial. This meant Takeda needed to regularly track, report on where we stood and where we projected to stand against specific data thresholds in order to ensure we were ongoing compliance. Essentially, the number of personal data that we were and projected to touch over the next years and how this compared to the limits set by the law. But meeting those requirements wasn't as straightforward. One of the biggest challenges was the nature of our data landscape. We operated across multiple legal entities with global regional studies that served different objectives. These data sets were often in disconnected systems, many of which evolved separately, especially following past mergers and acquisitions, challenges that, as you know, are common to our industry. And as a result, data aggregation was highly inefficient. Teams had to manually pull information from various systems, run complex SQL queries, perform extensive cleanup and analysis in Excel, and this process had to be repeated every couple of months, and it was slow, resource-intensive, and prone to inconsistencies, leading to potential errors, rework, and lack of general confidence in the output. And on top of that, the time spent wrangling data meant less capacity for higher value work, and in a lesser way, it affected timely decisions. So we asked ourselves, how can we streamline this process, ensure data consistency, build a scalable solution that not only gives us a clear, timely view of our compliance status, but also flexible enough to evolve with the regulation. We needed a solution that could serve as a single source of truth, one where we could easily tailor parameters, add new restrictions, or adjust the logic as regulatory requirements change without having to build the entire model. Also, it needed to be interpretable, not a black box, so it could be potentially audited and compliant. And just as importantly, we wanted to provide visibility across stakeholders, enabling faster, more confident decision-making. And that's what led us to the solution I'll walk you in the next slide. To address those challenges, we transitioned from a time-consuming manual process to a fully automated interactive dashboard that now delivers monthly compliance insights directly into stakeholders' inboxes. We built a streamlined data pipeline that aggregates, cleans, and analyzes data from multiple sources, including trial data stored in several of our data hubs. And utilizing Dataiku, we automated the data cleaning, integration of all of the different sources, applied governance rules, ensuring consistency and traceability across the board. Also, we developed it in parallel. Different team members could work on separate components of the analysis in this projection model simultaneously, speeding up the development and the outputs. The outputs then were seamlessly integrated into our final version. The dashboard itself proves to be both a current view of where we stand relatively to those thresholds, how far we are from them, and also at forward looking. We had some projections based on an analysis that updated automatically on a monthly basis that allowed stakeholders to not only monitor the present and how we were against those thresholds, but also anticipate and respond to future compliant risks as our study landscape was evolving. We also implemented an automated alert system that triggers if we are projected to exceed this threshold at any time, enabling proactive intervention before issues arise. And from a business perspective, this solution also had impact. It saved about 400 hours of manual work by eliminating some of the manual data integration, cleaning, and reporting. And it also gave teams a centralized, reliable source of truth and accelerated that compliance decision-making. Beyond just a technical solution, it also fostered stronger collaborations between analytics and business stakeholders, aligning around a common set of KPIs and ensuring we could flag and act on risk more quickly. And importantly, the solution was flexible and scalable. It accommodates growing data volumes, adapts to the new business rules, and is already being replicated for future initiatives. So if the China PI bill evolved, as it certainly has done so in the past months, it was easy to adapt those parameters and change it in the model. This was one of the examples of how we're doing that step-step automation in a highly regulated industry and how we've overcome some of the challenges. With that, we will be moving on to the second use case focused on protocol intelligence and Gen AI powered automation. What was the challenge here and what was this all about? This second use case focuses on protocol intelligence and the opportunity to reduce patient burden by leveraging unstructured data in a smarter, more scalable way. Protocol complexity is a known driver of downstream issues in our industry. In fact, protocol complexity leads to higher patient burden, for example, high site burden, site fatigue, and even investigator turnover. So essentially, to improve study design and reduce that complexity, improve the burden that we put on patients and on sites, we want to be able to answer critical questions such as, compared to our peers, our protocols or our trials have more visits, longer visits, more procedures per visit, or more invasive ones. Answering these types of questions would not only help us optimize our protocols, but also reduce the burden we placed on both patients and sites. And that's easier said than done. Analyzing study protocols is, as you can see, a highly manual and time-consuming process. Study teams often have to swift between dozens of PDF documents to extract key information, sometimes in images, tables, read through the document, just to be able to benchmark trial burden to see what competitors are doing. And without a scalable or structured way to do this, it's difficult to systematically compare trials against competitors. And as a result, protocol design decisions are sometimes made without the full picture, leading to unintentional or potential increase in complexity and patient burden. And adding to that challenge, our data sources are somewhat fragmented. We currently did not have a centralized repository for protocol benchmarking, which meant that insights are often one-off and hard to reuse across studies. So there was an opportunity, and this was a challenge that sparked our second use case of how to combine protocol intelligence with generative AI to transform the way we design our studies. As we will see in the next slide, what did we do to try to tackle these challenges? And for this, we developed an automation-assisted application in Dataiku that extracts and analyzes competitor protocol data to generate actionable insights. As you can imagine, one of the biggest hurdles was the data itself. We had certain challenges, and this one was one. Protocol documents were structured, noisy, tables embedded in PDFs, even scanned images of the schedule of activities. And to address this, our solution was to combine document intelligence for the table extraction with GPT-4 using carefully crafted prompt engineering to interpret and standardize that context. Another key challenge was the lack of harmonization with the free text form, making it difficult to compare procedure names across competitors, and we addressed this by leveraging GPT-4 to map these to a standardized subset of protocols. Similarly, there was no legacy tool to automate this kind of insight. We built an end-to-end solution from scratch and deployed Streamlit applications fully integrated in Dataiku. And lastly, as we wanted to create a sustainable foundation, we integrated everything in a centralized Redshift database, creating a single repository of truth for structured protocol intelligence that could scale over time. And the results were promising, starting with a 50% improvement in our ability to extract this information compared to the manual approach that we were doing before. And more impressively, we first started this with a subset of studies. But if we expanded this across all Takeda studies, we estimated this could save 43,000 hours per year. For the time it would be saved for patients if we were able to design a protocol better using those insights. That could translate into 8 million potential savings just from the simplification and reduction of procedures that patients had. By turning this unstructured data into structured insights, the solution is helping us design more efficient trials and, above all, reduce the burden we put into our patients. To wrap this up, and to finish this presentation, and after walking you over these two interesting use cases, I'd like to leave you with a few key takeaways from our journey so far. First, AI adoption is a climb, not a leap. So both of these use cases I shared today, the PIPL and the protocol intelligence platform, started within a specific tangible problems. We focused on incremental wins. For example, in the protocol intelligence, we started with one protocol, two protocols, showed the value that had, and then scaled up. Similarly, we took a proof of concept approach for the China PIPL one. By focusing on those incremental wins, we were able to first build trust, drive change management, and set the boundaries for a broader impact. Second, the right AI for the right challenge. Our PIPL use case was powered by traditional automation and rule-based alerting, while protocol intelligence leaned more on Gen AI and large language models. So not every challenge needs generative AI, but every challenge needs a fit-for-purpose approach. Third, technology doesn't drive change, people do. Success depends not on just building solutions, but on working closely with business teams, aligning KPIs, and ensuring that automation augments, not replaces, human expertise. Fourth, in regulated industries, innovation must walk hand in hand with compliance. So everything we built, we had to be explainable, interpretable, and flexible enough to adapt to change in policies, especially in the landscape as dynamic as privacy or clinical trial design. For example, the China PIPL, we needed to build a model that was interpretable, easy to understand, had the assumptions clear, and not just the black box towards our stakeholders. And lastly, success is built on collaboration. These projects were made possible through close teamwork, analytics, compliance, clinical teams, and I also have to say our incredible business analytics team at Takeda, including interns, who really helped us push the boundaries of what's possible. And with that, I just wanted to thank you so much for joining me today on this journey of the AI ladder. And I hope this session highlighted how thoughtful step-by-step automation can help reimagine what's possible in clinical development, ultimately enabling solutions that lead to better outcomes for patients. And I'm truly grateful to be able to be part of this work.